Hi, I want to welcome you to this section, which is chapters 4, 5, and 6. These chapters are mainly review of CS2. So on the chapter 4 is just talking about the fundamental data. So we go over numbers as int and mm, double, just like C++. These are the different data type that we can have. Is just exactly like C++. So except that, I mean, C++ has a byte, but we didn't go over those. So generally the int and double and maybe long are the one we're going to be using. Then we talked about the constant in there. Just like C++, we want to have some constant. In here, we call the constant final. Just like C++, we can have some variable which are uh, constant. The reason we want to do that is got a few reasons. One is nobody can change this in the future. Two is if something happen in the future and we want to update this, then we only do it in one place. And three is in your coding, it's much easier to understand what we're talking about. Are we talking about 25 cents? We're talking about 0.25 of something. So that's why we're going to be start using the final. Another a part of this, let me see what else do we have here. Uh, so that's for that one. The arithmetic, I'm not going to go through it. Addition, subtraction, division, just like C++. Uh, The input output is a little different. It's using the old-fashioned C language. So because Java is object-oriented, you got to create an object to use it. So we're going to be using the new, just like we were talking about it earlier. So we're going to create a new scanner to be able to read something from the keyboard. So we are going to be using the next. So we can have the next int, we can have next double, uh, or we can just have next to read string. I'm not going to go through the detail of these things. I'm just saying these are available. So hopefully you're going to be looking at those. And uh, if you have any question, we can talk more about it. Then we go from input output. Of course, in the input output, you have the formatting in there too. So it's a little different than C++. It's using the C language type way, but it's not too hard to get it. You just follow the steps to understand it. Then we get to the string. This to me is the most important part of during this three chapters. It is got some overlapping with C++, a lot overlapping in C++, but some new things over here. So, for example, we have the concatenation with the addition on it. We have things similar to that in C++. So it shouldn't be too hard, different. If you want to read it as a string, you can just uh, do next and you can just read it as a string. Uh, so this is the way we're going to be doing. So a typical way, and as we go forward, is we can read it as a string, anything that we want to read, and then change it to integer or double, and that's what we're going to be doing in here. Other area of a concern, say escape sequence is just like C++. The difference between strings and character. something that you want to take a look at it. So we wouldn't have per se a character here. We have the whole string that we can go into a specific character. That's what I meant. So the character very close to C++, just almost identical to that one. We have some tools for substring that you can extract substrings. So it's a good idea to take a look at this string operation, table 7. Uh, not too far from C++, but and you got some special areas that you want to take a look at it. Uh, I would come back and talk about this using dialog boxes. It's not a bad idea to take a look at that, and you have a little more than that, so you can have the input of your program. This can pop up a window for you, and you can just read into it. And then we go to chapter 5, which is basically if a statement and if else statement and the Boolean variable, input validation, something that we're going to start doing. When we're getting the input, how do we validate it? That's something that we're going to start thinking about. What else? And chapter 6 is talking about loops, very, very close to C++. We would have while loop, we have a for loop. Uh, it's going to be a little different for the for loop. Of course, the C++ 11 is adopting this for loop. So the while loop and we have the for loop. We can have a traditional C++ for loop, or we have another way of doing a for loop, which is called for each. So we have that one available to us too. So we can look at that one too. Well, that's basically 4, 5, and 6. And when you go over all of them, check it out and see what is not very clear for you. And then we can talk about it on Friday. Once again, I am not going to be available on Thursday, but Friday we can go over all the questions and concerns that you have. Okay? Goodbye.